Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Craig Garenti, and this is the world's greatest licensing podcast. And I'm really excited about today's episode because I get to talk to my friend Jim Ball, who I've known for many years. Jim, you and I were just chatting before we hit the record button, and I consider you a serial entrepreneur because I'm looking at your resume online, your LinkedIn profile, and for me it's very depressing because when you look at mine, I've done two things in my life, and I look at yours and you've done so many different things. And we met when you were at a company called Clockwork, and then it became Navisite, and then we did a little work for Liberati, and now you've got your own thing going, Build, Grow, Last, where you help entrepreneurs and small business owners grow their business. So uh, I think you've got tons and tons of experience, and we're excited to have you on the show.
Great. Thank you so much. And I think the reason my things are shorter is because yours have been more successful. I think that's let's take that lens.
No, I just don't know when to quit sometimes. Eventually someone's going to give me money if I keep talking about this same thing over and over. But you have, in this podcast, we look at technology, and you and I met, I think when you were part of Clockwork, and that's a company you founded, correct?
That's right. Yeah, that was me and three co-founders back in, I want to say 2011, 2012, something like that. And um, it feels like a long time ago because it was a long time ago, but the what really dates it is that we started working on AWS, on Amazon Web Services, and helping people who wanted to adopt that platform. And at the time, back in 2011, that was pretty novel. People weren't using cloud computing as they are now. Today, it's like the de facto standard, but back then, people still had concerns. Um, but equally, we could see that that was going to become the dominant platform over a period of time. So, yeah, Clockwork was one of my first larger ventures, and yeah, all around AWS and Oracle as well, which kind of links us back to yourself, Craig.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a little topical, but AWS has had some problems in the last couple of days.
I
What
hadn't noticed, really.
what happened? I have not. I've seen the headlines. I've noticed some of our services that we use went down yesterday, the day before. But do you know exactly what happened? Have they released yet? What sort of is the cause of the outages that they've been having?
I I tried to spend some time this morning going through because it's really hard to get, actual definitive answers to these things, and I think the press doesn't help as well because it's a technical topic. Um, but I understand it was their DNS, their domain name service that has failed, and in Virginia as well, which is the original and largest of their locations. So that clearly caused some problems. But I remember I was thinking at the time. Back when we were starting out, or even I guess maybe the mid 20 teens, maybe 2015, 16, 17, there were a number of Amazon outages at that
Hmm.
time. And we went into the root causes at the time. We considered the downtime that had happened or the impact. And even when you consider that impact, the benefit of working with a hyperscaler like Amazon was still clear because the other 364 days, everything was absolutely fine, right?
Right.
And you try doing that on your own in your own data center, it's pretty tough unless you're, enterprise scale. Um, so no, I haven't dug into the root cause, but I'm sure we'll get that through the tech press soon.
I think it's going to be some guy logged into their GoDaddy account and deleted a DNS server name by accident and hit enter, and now everyone is trying. It's going to be something really stupid that happened, that human error. Just somebody had a brain fart and
It
and
will
did
be.
something.
And you go back to the other, so dark trace a couple of years ago, things like that. These things generally come down to a human error. And even if it's a machine error, there's only one set of people that are programming the machines. So
I
yeah,
remember
I
a few
think
years ago, Google let their domain name expire, google.com, and
we've all
someone.
been there, Craig. We've all been there.
Right. And someone picked it up the same day, some random guy somewhere in the States. He's like, I'm going to register google.com. And within 5 minutes, they had it back. Right. He's like, but I
Yeah,
registered it. It's all mine. I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, we take that back. Jim, why start? What is it about entrepreneurship? What is it about, doing your own thing? Like, why did you start your own company? Like, when you're at a big company and they give you money every week, that's kind of safe and you get a paycheck. And the phrase I like to say is, when you work for a big company, you sign the back of your check, but when you do your own thing, you sign the front of your checks. So, what is it about it that gets people to do that scary thing and have to write the checks themselves?
It's a great question. I think and in my life now, I meet lots of these people, right, who are either right in the front of their own checks or they're planning to, they're kind of in that, starting a thing or scaling a thing. Um, I think for me, it's always been uh, the opportunity. So, and maybe an element of frustration as well. Like if I think about when we started Clockwork, there was a frustration there that we were a set of infrastructure guys, database guys, and for us to do anything in our jobs took a load of time. The everything was very slow in the old kind of infrastructure and data center world. And then when Amazon came along, we could do things really quickly, and there was an enthusiasm for that. And so I think that business was born slightly out of frustration of we can't do things well enough and quick enough for our customers, but also this opportunity of, this world is going to change and we can see what it's like. And, someone once said to me, or maybe I heard it somewhere, but if you want to know what the future is going to be like, look at what the geeks are doing in the evening,
Oh,
because and that's what we were the geeks and we were using AWS in the evening, and it's like this is what the future is going to be like because this is how people are going to build. So it's a bit of a marker for me now. So if someone comes to me with a business idea that they're planning to do, or maybe they're in the early stages, I think the things to look for are, have you done this out of frustration or enthusiasm, or are you just chasing money? And is there a really clear opportunity there that you're going after, or are you copying other people? Because if it's the former, then they're much more likely to succeed. Whereas if it's the latter, um, I think it's usually short-lived.
and you know, if you could, since you've been working with entrepreneurs and you are one yourself, what are some of the traits for a successful entrepreneur? If you're thinking about doing this, and you sort of want to analyze yourself, what makes a good entrepreneur? There are key like personality indicators or traits that people have. You say they've got what it takes, or on the flip side, like that is not for you.
Yeah, I think I see entrepreneurial folks in all different shapes and sizes and kind of attitude to risk and things like that. I There's an often used kind of stereotype, which is your entrepreneur is a risk taker, and they bet the farm and they bet the house and all that kind of thing, which kind of says that you need to be all in and you need to take all the risks. Actually, the people that I meet who are entrepreneurial and run businesses, yes, they do take risk, but they're very calculated risks.
Hmm.
Like to go back to your phrase, when you're right in the front of the check rather than the back of the check, um, you want to know you put a lot more thought into what you're doing, and the risks you take are a lot more considered. So I kind of go against that kind of risk-taking stereotype. Um, when I talk to founders about what kind of people we are, it tends to be more about the team. So I think generally we'll have, when we look at founder teams, we'll have somebody who has identified an opportunity and is really keen on chasing after that opportunity. They're often the leader, they're often the salesperson, but we always need to make sure that they're backed up with somebody that can do the technology. So, we need somebody that can actually build product and build good services. And equally, we need somebody that can operate a business as well, that can make sure that we deliver on our promises to customers and that we collect the money and stay up to date with our taxes and so on. So I think less of what is the driving force? Because I think that happens for a short time, and that enthusiasm can kind of ebb away a little bit. But if we've got that kind of triangle of somebody that can sell, somebody that can build, and somebody that can run, then that tends to be a better indicator of success for the slightly longer term.
Yeah, I'm thinking about sort of my experience of having done it once. And I remember, so I started Palisade back in 2011, so 14 years ago. And, 9 months, 10 months into it, I was like, I guess I need an accountant. I need someone like I have money coming in and going out. And I remember I sat down with the accountant and he's like, Craig, let's talk about your process for collecting money from your clients. Tell me, walk me through that. And I was like, Mitch, it's great that you asked that. I open up my bank account every week or so, and when it goes down, I start sending out some invoices and some bills, and his eyes lit up like, oh my God, that you're going to go out of business so fast. He goes, well, we're going to fix that today, right? That is not how we run a business. And for me, I had maybe expertise in um, running an organization at a big company, and then, subject matter expertise around, Oracle licensing. But I didn't know how to do invoicing and billing and
Mm.
collections and I just thought, hey, you signed a contract and then the other company's going to pay you. And you're like,
Yeah.
no, that is just you're like a third of the way through the process to get money, like getting that contract signed. There's this whole other aspect of running a business, which you know nothing about, and you need that team of people to help you. So for me, that was an eye-opening experience.
Yeah, and I think, just listening to you talk, that's a great story to illustrate the point, because I think when we start the business, we think a lot. When we start the business, we're often just plugging the holes in the boat, right? We're just solving the problems, putting out the fires as we go along. But at some point, we have this kind of realization point that the the business is kind of an engine, and we have to look after all of the parts of the engine. We have to make sure that there's fuel going in it. We have to make sure there's oil. We have to make sure that it's looked after, and we have to understand how it works. And I think what most entrepreneurs do is they start to piece that together. So, like your visit to your accountant, you say, oh, right, I understand the collections piece now. So I'll make sure that that's working. And then sometime later on, most of the businesses that I come up against, they'll sell some things early on, and then those sales will drop away a little bit, and they'll be like, oh, we
Mhm.
need to fix the marketing thing and the sales thing. And then they realize that those things can be predictable as well. So what's the process behind them? And I think that's one of the things I enjoy most about the journey that people go on is, as you go from a start, I call it from a startup to a scale up. I think that's pretty acknowledged language these days, but it's moving from being the person that just fixes the holes in the boat to the person that builds the boat for the long term, builds a bigger boat. And I think that's a great journey to go on. I'd encourage anybody who's got the enthusiasm for it, I'd encourage them to go on that journey, because no one's written that story for you before. You just have to figure it out as you go.
Yeah, and there's some things, and when we get in front of a new prospective customer or prospect or partner, and we have a few salespeople on the team now, but they'll often bring me into those, especially early conversations, because I think you know starting a business, no one's going to sell it like you. No one's going to
Yeah.
sell the service or the offering. So being a founder, there are definitely things you want to stop doing. Like I don't want to be doing collections, even though that's a vitally important, like if we don't bring in money, we go out of business. But
Mm,
there are things that only the founder can do or can do the best. And that, selling that product, telling the story, like how did you get from where you were before to this position now? And how can you help the person on the other side of the Zoom call?
mm,
So I think that definitely figuring that out, for me, when I think about sort of our journey here, like I did everything until I couldn't do it anymore, right? And so I did the
mm,
collections until I just, hey, that outgrew me, or I was working with clients and helping them with, audit defense until, well, I'm in over my head. Like I need someone with more experience than me doing this thing, or I can only get on so many sales calls or, go on so many client visits or whatever the answer is. So, and I don't know if that's the right approach, but I always did something myself and until like just for whatever reason, I just wasn't good at it or I needed the expertise. And is that sort of a common thing? Do entrepreneurs hold on to things too long? Are we sort of too possessive or are we too eager to get rid of things? And do we sort of lose track of things? Like where do you see sort of, the average entrepreneur in that spectrum?
Everybody hangs on to everything for too long. So I think no, your experience is bang on, with many other entrepreneurs I talk to and my experience as well, right? The sales thing I think is the key one that the founder holds on to, and to an extent rightly so, right? Because you want to make sure that the sales are coming in and the growth of the business and the continuity of the business is there, so it becomes the most important thing. But like you say, equally, there's only so many calls you can jump on, and I think at a certain point, I have this conversation quite a lot. At a certain point, having the CEO come on the first sales call when you're already an established business and you've got a
Mhm.
big team, it's probably not the right thing. But having the CEO come in just at the right time, just as the customer is at a decision point, or maybe there's an element of competition around a deal, I think that is the right point to go in. Um, and I think that comes down to the heart of the matter, because with all of these business processes, we need to, figure out how they work, but ultimately delegate them to other people and just involve ourselves when we absolutely have to. Um, and and by that, with that model, then we can kind of pull ourselves out of the day-to-day of the business a little bit and start to work on it rather than in it. Um, I'd be interested though, like how many sales calls do you get on now? Like what is it compared with 10 years ago?
Well, 10 years ago, I would get on all of them. So,
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
right. It was every single one. And now, I would say, 75, 80% of the business gets closed without me ever
that's good.
initially
Yeah.
talking to the client, right? So I always, we have a whole process for, checking in with customers, making sure things are going accordingly. I always reach out to every client that we have, separately from the sales engagement. Just, I'm here if you need anything. We're not too big to do that, so I love
Yeah.
it. But I'll get, notifications, and we have, systems in place to notify us when a new opportunity signs and ah, I didn't even know we were talking to those people, right? So it came in the funnel. It went into our CRM. It was assigned to a salesperson. They had some conversations. They talked to our technical team. So the sales and the marketing and the delivery team and the invoicing and and it all worked. And then I'll get the notification, and you're just like, and I remember the very first customer that we signed where I was not involved in that process. I still remember. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this maybe there's something bigger than me doing everything, right?" And and
Yeah.
and that was a great feeling that okay, like that's step one of 1,000, but for me that was liberating, and I could see how some people would be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't know that thing was going through." But for me, it
Yeah.
was great. I loved it.
Yeah. And I think those two reactions are what we get, because it's either how did that happen without me? I can't believe it. What's going on? I need to know all about it. But I think the correct response is we built all of the mechanisms and processes and systems and machines that are necessary for that to happen. Therefore, how do we scale it? How do we make sure that we have more of that coming in? And I'm not saying that every business has to continue to grow and scale and get bigger and bigger, because sometimes we want it to be a certain size and that's enough for us. But being able to operate the machine of the business rather than be in it and tinkering with it all the time, I think should be the aim of entrepreneurship. It's that kind of meta level of focus on how does the business work rather than what does the business do.
And maybe it's me, or maybe it's just a common thing, but and I know it frustrates some people, in my organization, but I'm sort of never look at anything and say, boy, that's done. Boy, that's perfect. This is great. We never have to look at this again. I'm always asking the question,
Yeah.
can we do that? And they're like, no, I told you we couldn't do that. And like I'll give you a great example. We have, some security on our computers, and when I get on airplane, you have to log into your VPN, and it wants to send you a text message on your phone, and I'm like, guys, I can't get the text message on my phone if I'm up in the air because I can only have one device on. There must be a solution to this problem so I could log into the VPN on the plane. And so far, we haven't figured it out using the service that we have. But every time I get on a plane, I end up asking Luis on the team. I was like, Luis, why can't I do this? This is so frustrating. Eventually, there'll be an answer to that. Or
Yeah.
Craig, stop working on the plane, enjoy the
Well,
movie.
that was going to be my other. So I think I always think of, when we solve a problem, we should solve it for scale. So, like finding a way around the VPN. Obviously, you need to have it for that one journey, but how do we fix it for everybody in the company forever? Um, the other side of Jim's head wants to say the only quiet time in this world is when you get on that airplane for those few hours. Just treasure those few hours, watch a
Right.
movie, have a drink. It's all good.
People hate. I remember when I worked at Oracle, there was no um, internet on the airplanes. So I would get on the airplane, and I flew a lot international. So I would download all of these emails that I had, and then I would work on email the entire flight. And as soon as I landed, I would get to the hotel, connect to the Wi-Fi service, and people would get like 25 emails, and they knew
Yeah.
my flight was over because like, it's like
Yeah.
enough with that.
And that used to be the way, didn't it? And then, but if it was a long enough flight, the email chain had moved on in the meantime, and then you
Yes.
take everybody back 5 steps. Yeah, that's crazy.
But now we're texting on planes, that you can get your iMessages and your WhatsApp or whatever you're doing. So now we're having, like you said, it used to be the moment in time where you were disconnected and you were away from the
Yeah.
world. Now it's like, oh my gosh, 3 hours without the internet. What am I possibly going to do? And I watched a nice movie. I was in Vegas last week, and the internet actually wasn't working on the plane. So I was like, all right, I'll have a can of wine they serve you now.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
even a little bottle, and I'll watch the movie, and that was fun to disconnect. Are you seeing a lot of so your business is obviously small business owners come to you looking to help grow and scale. I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about Build, Grow, Last, and sort of because I was on your website and there is so much material on there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean to kind of round out my journey, and you introduced this at the beginning as well. So, um, after Clockwork, we sold that business to Navisite. They're an MSP, and we subsequently went on to sell that business to Accenture a few years ago. And I was kind of left with this decision of, well, what shall I do next? Because nobody tells you this, but when they sell your company at the end, they fire you. That's like one of the nice things that happen. Um, so yeah, I just burst bubbles all day, but that's what happens. And at that point, I was like, well, what shall I do next? I know professional services, I know technology, I know Oracle and cloud and so on. So I could go back to that, start another business. But I kind of wisely, I think at the time, I thought, oh, well, I'll take a little bit of time off. It was the summertime as well, and just have some time out. And people started coming to me and saying, Jim, you've been on this journey, startup and scale up and exit and so on. Um, we want to take that trip as well. Like, how does it work? And what I realized was, if you go and search for this stuff on Google or on, ChatGPT now, there's lots of people with an opinion, and there's lots of people who want to sell you a product or a service or something like that. But there's very few people who actually talk or try and analyze their journey kind of from start to finish. And I realized that that was useful to people, to kind of to be able to break things down into, everything from having an idea to starting the business to scaling it up to having it mature and maybe even exit. People want to know what those steps are. And specifically, they want to know what actions they should take at a specific step rather than learning from somebody that runs a mature business. You want to learn from somebody that runs something that's similar size to you. Um, and it took a year or so. So I took some advisory roles and I started to work with a few businesses. And over that time, I started to figure out that a lot of the problems that people have are the same. So, everybody needs more customers, everybody needs to manage a team, everybody needs to pay their taxes and so on. So a lot of the challenges that people come up against, yes, they're unique for their business, but actually generically in the sector, they've been solved many times, right? And there's things you can learn, there's a framework you can apply, and you can it's the old 80/20 thing. Often 80% of the answer is already out there. You just need to apply the little bit of it that makes it for your business. Um, so through that time and through these experiences, we started to put together what we call the Ascent framework, which essentially is for each stage of maturity of the business and each pillar of the business, marketing, sales, finance, legal, and so on, what do you need to do at every stage? And like you say, it's on the website. It's always a work in progress because the best practice on these things moves forwards. But for each of those stages, there's advice, there's guidance, there's reading, there's tools you can use, and so on. And really, that forms the core of my work now. So um, I work, as you say, mainly with startup to scale up organizations. So generally, the product or the service has been proven in some way. We've probably got some money coming in, but we
Mhm.
need to figure out how to go back to our conversation, build that machine and make it sustainable and robust. And we use the framework to to paint out that journey and to make a business plan. And honestly, I love it. I work a lot just down the road here. I'm just outside of London in the UK. We do a lot of face-to-face meetings. We get founders together in the same room so they can share their challenges. A lot of the business planning I do face-to-face as well,
Mhm.
um, which is something that I really wanted after COVID. Yeah, and we're seeing success in the businesses as well. So a few years in, we can see steady growth on some of the businesses that we're working with, which is hugely rewarding. Yeah.
Well, and I would think there's a constant supply of people who want to start their own thing and need some help, right? It's not like a shrinking industry that you're in. It just appears like everyone's starting a business these days. They're doing their own thing, and technology is enabling that. You could listen, when I started Palisade, if there was no internet, there would have been no business.
No.
We needed how were people ever going to find us? Well, we had to put up a website. How do you connect to people? Dating yourself or myself with, you have a Rolodex, you have a directory of people that you can call. Um, but if the internet didn't exist, Palisade wouldn't exist, right? How is someone
Yeah.
in, Germany going to find this licensing advisory company based, in New York City? So it's just not going to happen. How, just looking at technology again, I mean, it wasn't new in 2011, the internet wasn't new, but things like Zoom and Teams and being able to do video calls, like that's definitely, and COVID really, moved that forward, right? To the
Yeah.
point where like I'm going away tomorrow to meet with a prospective client because I just need to meet with people in person. I can't do this Zoom thing all the time. But now the big thing is this thing called AI. And so, how is that impact? Well, I guess we can go ask this a few different ways, but um, are the companies that are coming to you, are they AI based companies? Have they got, or is it just all over the map? Or what are you seeing in terms of sort of people starting businesses using AI and sort of the product that they offer to their clients?
So the longer standing clients of mine are not AI because they were around before ChatGPT 4 and so on. But they've all got some AI angle to the business. So how do we bring AI into the play? What does that do for us? And sometimes that's directly in their offering to customers. Often it's in the back office. How can we use AI to sell better, to go to market better, to do operations better, and so on. So that's the kind of established businesses that I work with. The newer folks, I've had a couple of calls. I have probably three, four, five calls a week with people who are either starting or running businesses to see whether they want to come into the group and just kind of see whether they're a good fit or not. Everyone's doing AI. Like
Mhm.
across the board, there is nothing that comes to me that doesn't have AI in it at the moment, which is logical, right? It's just it's if you've been using AI for the last 18, 24 months, it's hard to think about how you would build a business without it now because it's such a game changer. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of either technology businesses that have a B2B offering will teach you how to use AI in your business, Mr. Customer, or it'll be a disruptive business that uses AI to enter some space, whether it's financial services or marketing or whatever it might be. But yeah, it's across the board at this point, Craig.
Yeah, I just came back from Las Vegas, and Oracle's big conference it was out there. It used to be
They
called
still
or
they still let you in, Craig?
you, you walk in and they've got these machines as you're walking through security. The security at cloud or at Oracle World is next level. Like it is beyond any event. It's like presidential level security. Like when
Really?
Larry and Saf are there, dog sniffing bombs, agents like with the fake hands holding the jackets. I mean, things in ears. And so you walk in, and the first thing you come across are these two green stacks with lights on them. And you know that's facial recognition. Like they are looking, they do this in New York City. It's an interesting story about Madison Square Garden. But I every year I go, I'm like, this is the year. This is the year they stop me
Yeah.
because they're going to see my, okay, I got through level one. Then you got to go through the metal detector. Then you got to go past the dogs. And so, yeah, they still let me in. And it's a great, listen, we meet our partner. I look at the Oracle, they've got all their sponsors, the gold, diamond, platinum, whatever sponsors. And there's 50 company names. Half of them are our customers. I look at them
Yeah.
and go, wow, you're an Oracle super duper partner and you still come to us for help with your Oracle licensing. That's really interesting. Yes, so they still let me in. And but it's a great show. I mean, they really they put on, and everything is AI this year. Every single thing was AI. And I don't go to the keynotes. I can read about what Larry says, later that day. But I go to the smaller sessions, and the sessions I went to this year were sales and marketing. How our company using Oracle. Now we're never going to use Oracle sales and marketing. We don't have that kind of scale or heft to need that. It's totally overkill for us. But it was interesting to see, how they are finding new clients and sort of managing the conversations with prospects and using AI to, hey, you know what? We saw this thing happen with this person and this company. You might want to have a conversation about that offering that we have, and like
Yeah.
things like, and it's when you're a rep at Oracle, you're selling 1,000 different things.
Yeah.
So, and to be able to sort of consult, I'm like, oh man, I wish we could do that. So, we're working on that. How can we, at a much smaller scale, leverage some of those tools? Even things like we have our podcast. Now we didn't have to do it today because you and I know each other, but when we have a guest that I'm not familiar with, I go into not chat GPT, say, tell me something about this person and what makes them that background, and give me some questions that I might be able to ask them in a podcast. And it gives me one page. So it took probably an hour of research.
Yeah.
Now we have a prompt built, and it takes me 5 minutes to read it, just.
Yeah.
And so how am I using AI in every single thing that we do? And you would think, how would you use that in a podcast? Well, there's a great example of how we use it. So I can't
Yeah.
imagine that it's a fad, like it's here to stay. And those people who embrace it and use it properly will succeed. And either if you ignore it or use it improperly, like, Deloitte got busted in Australia for, using hallucinations in some of their
Mm.
reports. You're going to go down the tubes for sure.
Yeah. And I think while you were talking then, I was thinking about the conversation from a few minutes ago of, how do we, when we're building processes in the business, we continue to work on those, going back to the VPN on the plane, right? I think now the question is, for that process, where does AI fit?
Mhm.
And I think that's how people are thinking now when they're building businesses. But equally, it's how entrepreneurs and business builders are thinking as well. It's like, for every step in all of those processes that most businesses need, how can I introduce an AI agent or service in some way? Um, and I think, if I think about my entrepreneurial experience through, kind of 2013 through 2019, something like that, there were all of these companies building things on cloud, providing cloud services, whatever it was, log
Mhm.
management, security, and there were thousands and thousands of them. How many are there now? There's been huge consolidation. I think that's what we'll see again is, AI is the platform, but it brings about this proliferation of opportunity and building people building things. But sooner or later, there'll be huge crossover and a few number of people have to win. And that's when we'll see that consolidation. But that takes time. That's the work of 5, 10 years. It's not a
Right.
few months.
Well, we have, so, I was joking earlier when you look at my resume versus yours, like I've done two things, right? You've done all these, you've got this vast experience. But one of the things that we've done is, we used to just focus on Oracle, but now we do other things, right? So we're in that process of sort of changing some of our marketing but we have this whole other line of business. I'll say we're in stealth mode, right? So in January, we'll be out of stealth mode, but we actually have some clients here. And it's totally not related to Oracle, and it's helping them grow their businesses. And we have one client that they need us to look at 1,000 documents. And I remember
Mm,
my days at Oracle when I was running this big organization and we did these acquisitions. We bought Siebel, we bought Hyperion, we bought PeopleSoft. Well, you got a folder, online folder with 5,000 documents. And then you had a spreadsheet and you said, Craig, you're going to look at these 100. Jim, you're going to look at these 100. Bob, you're going to look at those 100. And you sort of went through and everybody filled out the spreadsheets. And then someone in legal looked at your comments and I was thinking about that, and I'm like, okay, how are we going to review? And person on my team said, well, we got to hire someone to do this. I'm like,
mm.
absolutely not. There's no way we're hiring anyone to do this work. We will figure out how to use some AI technology to analyze these 1,000 documents and not only analyze them and pull data out, but also tell me which ones are most likely to fail or to succeed or to so given our parameter and it's going to take many iterations to get that right. And we did our first proof of concept just last week where someone built a prompt to review a very standard set of agreements that NDAs that we get all the time is you know
Yeah.
first thing you sign with someone is their NDA. And we have to open it up and look at it and read it, and it takes 10 minutes. It's not a big deal. But now we have a prompt. We put it in there, hit the button, and it says, do not sign this thing because of A, B, and C. Or you can sign it. It meets all of your criteria. Now, I still read it. I'm still not there yet where I will just sign the document without it's my contracts, upbringing, I guess.
Yeah.
But one day I'll get there. That'll be the success when I sign an NDA without actually reading it because I
Yeah.
am so confident in the prompt. Like I'll be more that's a bigger hurdle than a deal signed at Palisade and I didn't talk to the client. Like me signing a contract without reading it. If we can get to that point, then we know there's something there for sure. We figured
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that's the kind of thinking, isn't it? We used to we used to try and minimize or avoid work, so the reviewing all of the documents or reviewing all the code or whatever it might be. Now the scale of something is no challenge because we've got these like super intelligences that can just look at it for us. So I think again, it's efficiency has changed. We don't need as much human efficiency because we've got all of this machine efficiency to throw at things. It's incredible time.
I mean, and for us, it's more about, growing the right way. So again, years ago, we would just throw 1,000 people at something when I was at a big company. Several years ago, if we had some additional work, we would go on to one of these platforms and find a contractor for a few weeks and they would, plow through the work. Well, now we're figuring out, well, so there is going to be some labor displacement here. Right? So,
Yeah.
I see this technology as a way for, Palisade to grow, and we will need more people. But just doing different things and sort of having different expertise and than we did before. It is not about me shrinking the business in terms of employees or staff or whatever, but we're going to have more customers and we're going to add more value and we're going to, we're all going to make more money because we're using this technology. We just got to make sure we use it the right way. We're keeping confidential. For me, it's about confidential information. How do I, prevent, like I can't take these contracts and put them in chat GPT because it's
No.
now in the public. So, there are things I need to do to protect our clients' data and to protect our IP and sort of, help us grow. But I can't see reviewing those 1,000 documents from our new client in a manual way anymore. Like that is the last option.
Yeah, is that incredibly is the last option. And, I think all of those hesitations that we have around AI, so, hesitations around data security, around data privacy, that's where the opportunities are as well. So I think we're going to see many, many companies springing up to fill those gaps. So are you concerned about your client data going to ChatGPT and being used to as part of the learning data for the model, or use this tool and you can make sure that it's filtered out or whatever it's going to be. But I think even the way that we use AI and the concerns we have around AI are just opportunities for more entrepreneurs to build in that space.
So Jim, we've been talking for a while. How can folks get a hold of you? Like, what's the best way to connect with you? What's the, if they want to hear more about what you're doing or talk to you and get your advice on their business, what's the best way for folks to reach out?
Well, there's always the website, so buildgrowlast.com, or LinkedIn as well. So you'll find me as Jim Ball on LinkedIn. Again, buildgrowlast.com. That'd be super cool. Thank you, Craig.
No, it's a great way. I was thinking, well, if I had a website like that, because that's Eat, Pray, Love, right? You've got Build, Grow, Last. I love it. Mine would be like, do something, pray, do it again, pray some more, try it again, pray some more. So I just love the way you have it as a process. And like I said, I go in there and I go, okay, we need help here. And then I click the box and get some guidance. So, as an entrepreneur, it's been a great resource. I follow you on LinkedIn. You were doing that posting every day last year, which was I was watching you, walking the streets of London what's Jim going to post today? It's Saturday. He's going to post something. My wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, there's this guy in Europe. He posts every day. I want to see how long this lasts. But I think you did it, right? You did the whole year.
I did the whole year, and yeah, there were some fairly shaky days, and but yeah, I live not far from London, and it's one of my favorite cities as well, alongside New York City, and so often when I was in a bit of a hole of not sure what to post, you can always post a nice view of London and look where I am today, and it gets you out of
Yes.
that hole for a few days. Um, but yeah, all good.
Done that myself. New York City is a great source of material. So, anyway, Jim, thank you very much. If anybody wants to get some help with your business or just wants to learn, Build, Grow, Last is the website. Jim Ball is the guy, the man with the answers. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and join us. Follow us. I'm on LinkedIn. Jim, I know you're on LinkedIn. So thank you again for your time today. And thank you, everybody, for listening to the world's greatest podcast.
Thanks for having me, Craig.